Welcome back to another Action Over Emotion podcast. And if you're going through heartbreak, this is one of the main common topics that most of you guys have been struggling with. And I remember when I was going through heartbreak, it was an area that I couldn't see myself overcoming. Firstly, because I wasn't the best at expressing myself. I used to be a person that I used to the best way I would overcome a problem was pretend that problem didn't exist or I'll brush it away. And many people have many coping mechanisms. I used to drink, I used to smoke, I used to sleep. Sleeping was one of the ones that I used to escape to most of the time. You need to understand, whenever you're going through pain, you need a form of expression. If you don't express, you depress. When you depress, that's when you do internal damage, and that's how you end up entering that depressional state. When you start to think about what could have been, if this could have happened, then you start thinking about the future. And this is the part where heartbreak, or when you break up with someone, it really gets you the most. The reason being is because since you've allowed this person to enter your life and you've been with this person for X amount of time, now you've invested your life, you've invested part of you into this person. When you invest, there's like a trajectory, like everything that you invest in, or any project, when you go to school, when you go to university, when you go to a job, there's a projection. You create this projection with this person in your mind. So no matter what position you're in, some of you may already have thought about families with this person, some of you may already have planned about having kids with this person, or maybe you have kids with this person. And now you have sort of like this layer of where you wanted everything to go. And because everything just went to a cut, now you're no longer with this person. Now all you're left with is the unknown. And as we all know, no one likes the unknown. Why? Because you do not know what's on the other side. So what do we tend to do? We tend to stay in what we know. We like our safe spot. But what tends to happen most of the time is, since we've been cut off, the unknown is fine. But what have we attached to that thing that's been cut off? Our happiness, our love. And that's one of the biggest highest frequency states that we can be in: love, happiness. And because we've attached our happiness, our love to that person, now that it's been taken away, part of it's been taken away, so now we feel lost, disorientated. And that's completely normal. You need to understand, depending on how long you've been in that situation, it's going to take some time for you to overcome it. But the most important thing that you have to do, because when you end a relationship, and grief, it's a very similar emotion, because the only way you're going to overcome that situation is acceptance. Sooner or later, maybe not now, maybe you try to refuse it in 1 year, 2 years, but eventually you're going to have to accept it. Because what you've done, like I've mentioned before, is you've created all of these imaginary experiences, or imaginary trajectories, or places that you're going to be with this person, or events, or these memories that you had with them, or how great this thing that you wanted to be. Now you're not going to live that moment. But you need to understand that because you've been cut off, it doesn't mean that these moments are not going to come. Maybe not with that person, but you're going to have different moments. It's like a road. Now all you've seen is that road, and now you're so fixated on it had to be this road. And then when you actually remove your emotions from the situation that you planned out, and then you start to look, there is so many roads that you can go to. That's Benji trying to make us into the conversation. That there's so many roads that you can go to that you're not even looking at the other options that you have, because you're so fixated on that. That's why when you accept and you emotionally detach yourself from that situation, then you get to see everything that you have ahead of you. So what do I recommend the most? The most important thing that you guys need to do is focus on yourself. That was one of the hardest things for me, because I was a person that, when I went through heartbreak, I'm telling this from experience, what I done, I detached myself and I pretended like everything was fine. So what did I do? I'd go out drinking, I'll go out and meet other people to pretend that everything was fine. In reality, what you're doing is you're putting a plaster on top of the wound. You need to first cure the wound first, and then that's how you actually go to recovery. So what I done is, after some time of living that life, and I stopped to think about what actually happened, and I accepted it, I felt like I was in one of the worst stages in my life. That pain, I said to myself, I don't even want to live. And then when I got to that point, you need to understand that there's only two things. Your mind can only have one thought. It's either a positive or negative thought. And whenever you're thinking negative, it will always be because of expectance. Because you have an expectation of something that you want that you don't have. It will always be that. So whenever you're thinking negative, is because you're thinking of something that you do not have. And when you have that negative thought, is because you're not expressing gratitude. And at that moment, subconsciously, what I'd done, I remember I was on my bed, and it was actually in this house. I'm in my mum's house at the moment. I'm taking care of Benji, which is why you can hear him. I was upstairs on my bed, and I was laying down. And I was laying down on this bed. I was just like, I don't even care. I want to die. I think all of my family were there, and I wanted to die. It's like, I've had enough. And then that's when it clicked. I heard my mum's voice. I heard my mum's voice in the kitchen, and it clicked. I was like, how ungrateful can I be? I've attached everything to this one person, and first and foremost, that we are no longer together. So it's broken up. So if you're crying about, if you're feeling upset, if you're feeling upset because now you're no longer with a person that doesn't want you to be part of their life, so why would you sacrifice, put so much importance into it? That's why it's so important to detach your emotions from the situation and see it for what it actually is. And then I heard my mom's voice, and then I said, wait, how can I be so ungrateful? I have my mother that loves me. I have my dog here that loves me. I have my sisters, my family. And I have so much more ahead. I have all these other roads that I can go through. So you're so fixated on this is the best, but that you're closing doors to everything else. That's why you might not see it now, but when you overcome it, which you will, then you realize what you have to do is accept it, remove your emotions, and then you start to see everything. Work on yourself. And that's what I started to do. When you start to work on yourself, then you start to feel better, because now you have to work on yourself before you can allow anyone in to ever enter into your life, because you can't expect to heal one wound, find happiness in the same place that you lost it. You can't just come out of one relationship and go into the other, because what you do is you end up passing on that trauma to someone else, and someone else has to suffer for it, and you keep living that vicious cycle. Help yourself, heal yourself, and then you can now go out. What do I mean by that? You need to start to see value in yourself. How do you start to see value in yourself? It's very simple. You need to start to build confidence. Confidence is one of the best things that you can do, and it's the highest form that we all are going out to reach. Why? Because when you create that confidence, then you believe that, you create that belief, and you create that belief, you create that faith, and that helps you to do things, to have action. Because when you don't have confidence, you have that lack, that doubt, that worry. You don't have that belief. So what does that do? Inaction. And for us to progress, we always need action. So that's why you need to, how do you start focusing on yourself? Early wake-ups, doing things which are uncomfortable. I always say this, doing things that are uncomfortable, because when you do and you're accustoming yourself to doing uncomfortable things, when you're put into situations which are uncomfortable, because discomfort always excites growth, then that's when we start to grow in other areas. Self-development, because we can only do what we know, and if we know so much, if we only know this much, then you will only be able to do this much. That's why self-development is so important, because then you get to now see things from a whole different perspective, which is why you will always see me self-develop. The third thing you need to do is get in shape, because you want to feel confident within self. When you look into the mirror, be proud of the person that you see. And then for you to get that, then now you need to focus on your macros, making sure that you're eating the right things to help you get in shape, because when you eat good, you feel good. So that's pretty much the best thing I can recommend. And then when now you're in the stage for someone to enter into your life, make sure that person is an addition to your happiness. Because why? Because if you attach everything to this person, now you're being dependent on your happiness on one thing. And if that thing is ever removed from you, then you're left empty again and repeat the same process again, which is what you can't do. Because it's a very selfish thing to do, because if someone done the same thing to you, now when you're no longer in the picture, now that person will be suffering. You have to see it from a two-way street. It's not just you, it's not always you, because you want that person to do the same thing as you. That person is an addition. It should be an addition to your happiness. It's like an extension. It's an extension. It should have been the main vessel. So when you now understand and comprehend someone to be an addition to you, then that's how you can grow in harmony. Because you don't want to once remove that person suffer, or they remove, then you suffer twice as much. You want to be able to make sure that you guys grow and bond together while being an addition. So that's pretty much the topic of today that I wanted to share with you guys. If it helped, please drop the comment down below. Like this video. Follow me on Instagram if you're not already at @suno_. And if you want me to coach you to help you create discipline and consistency and create your best version through fitness, DM me the word 100 and I can see if I can help you. With that being said, that's Suno. Let's go.